Thank you all for this. There isn't much time to summarize everything, but quickly in a few points, the one first thing I can say about this new institution is you're going to need a lot more than just academic discussions and papers to understand diplomacy. This, paperwork, white papers, just doesn't work with diplomacy. We've seen it all along. Long story short is, essentially, as we said, the national interest is the core of diplomacy, and much of it takes place behind the scenes. So that's why, remember, 40 years ago in Nairobi, the Tito Okello government is holding peace talks with the NRA rebels who were using that as a window to rearm and then come and take over Kampala. We remember the Arusha process where the RPF and the Habyarimana government are holding talks, and meanwhile the RPF is preparing the Plan B. Same old story. That's why every time you have these discussions between Israel and Hamas, there's always the Director General of Israel's intelligence service. It's at the intelligence level. It isn't this civil service, paperwork, classroom diplomacy. But about this question of Congo, as I've been arguing recently, since January, on social media. One, people say Congo is very badly governed. That's why it has all these rebel groups. Yes, but then even the UK, democratic country, G7 economy, for about, 20 years suffered with the IRA rebels. Just the other day, you heard of this terrorist attack in Kashmir. India, Pakistan, each of them democratic, nuclear-powered, rising powers. There's been a Maoist rebellion in India since 1967. Turkey, middle country, one of the largest drone makers in the world. They've been fighting the PKK since 1978. So in other words, if you look at Congo's current problem with those rebels as proof of bad governance, then what explains the PKK's? Russia, nuclear armed power, UN Security Council member, one of the world's great historic powers. They've been struggling with this rebellion in the Chechnya and the Dagestan regions. So in other words, this whole question, the US, world's biggest military power, the counterinsurgency operations in Iraq, 20 whole years, Afghanistan, $2 trillion or $1 trillion spent, and Afghanistan is no nearer peace. So in other words, if these great powers are struggling with those IRA rebellions, the Shining Path in Peru, as I say, all these transnational forces, the PKKs, the Kashmir rebels, why do you think Congo is failing because of what you call the governance? Then people say the interest in Congo is, I've had this talk of the nuisance value because of all the minerals, but Tanzania is another Congo in terms of minerals and all this. Why isn't Tanzania like Congo? Is it because it's better governed? Then it has the same overlapping ethnic groups. You're familiar with the Baziba in the northwestern part of Tanzania. They are Maasai of Tanzania, Maasai of Kenya. It has the same cross-border thing. It's also a large country. Why isn't Tanzania like Congo? And then also, very importantly, to answer your question, Professor, if I can risk the wrath of some people across borders, Congo had, you're familiar with the history, 1960 to 65, that whole question, Uganda gets involved in the gold ivory thing, which I can explain another day, wasn't Obote and Idi Amin, as you're told. Actually, it was an African OAU agreement for Uganda to fund this, but long story. Then it cooled down, 65. Then there was a Shaba rebellion in 1977 when Uganda, under Idi Amin, sent troops. Then for 20 years until 1997, Congo calmed down. Decayed country, but basically it was stable. Then when some two armies of countries I will not mention got involved, as you just said, I think you did mention it, how come the people who come in with security interests then create secondary insecurity? And how come all these countries you see, the Burundis, this common thread, like Milton Obote wrote in April 1990 in his paper, there have been different rebel groups in different parts of Uganda, different agendas, different fighting structures, different command structures. But there's this common thread to him anyway, the NRA, and that how come everywhere the NRA and its offshoot, the RPF, go, places that have been tense years, community like Kenya, tensions, ethnic tensions, but not enough to cause genocide. How come when the RPF and the NRA stroke UPDF enter Congo is when this badly governed big country suddenly erupts into huge genocides, which have been there in 94 in Rwanda, and people would say northern Uganda. So that's something for you to think about. So in other words, my view is this question is very complicated. I don't know how this diplomacy school here is going to handle it, but I think sometimes actors do cause a mark in these places. So the pattern basically of broken peace, you talked about diplomacy should work, but then you remember Nairobi, the Daniel Arap Moi government did its best, and I'm not trying to be political here, but I'm just saying that pattern, broken promises, and all this is some of the current cause of the crisis in Congo since October 1986 when your friends here entered that country, separate from the earlier Patrice Lumumba, Shombe, and all that mix around there, which Mobutu had sort of calmed down. Finally, very briefly, we keep hearing this talk of Congo is the size of Western Europe. And it's just talked about by academia and the media. I'm saying, but people, do you know what that means? Do you know what it means for an African country that only one university graduate in 1960 at independence to be the size of Western Europe? Western Europe has like how many countries themselves struggling with their own economic problems? Imagine an African country that is mostly tropical rainforest like Brazil, the size of Western Europe. The European Union alone needs all this organization that's supposed to run it. How can we blame Congo for its current problems when we say it's bad governance? Okay, since January, M23 has been in charge of Goma. Is the airport open? No. Are there roads in Goma? No. Has Congo changed? No. Rwanda and Uganda, two well-governed countries, especially Rwanda, in and out of Congo since 1997 when Mobutu was removed. Okay, since the greatly run Rwanda and Uganda got involved in Congo, has Congo been better managed by them since they went there? No. So, in other words, my point is it's a very long, complex situation, but really, as I was saying, this school here, to become a dynamic place, like the way Makerere University's political department was in the 1960s with the Transition magazine and those Professor Mamdani's, it will have to go beyond these papers in very nice formal language and begin to understand these questions. You remember 1993, that salute incident at Koro Airstrip, Independence Day, when the Uganda government denied to supporting John Garang's SPLA, and then at the reception at Nile Hotel, as President Museveni is speaking, in a window up there, Colonel John Garang is looking, who Uganda says was supporting. So if you don't understand this cat and mouse games, the deception of countries, the powers, the double speak, you need intelligence officers, not career diplomats, to understand all this going on. Uganda is denying its support in the RPF in 1990. There are all these Red Cross trucks that are going to Rwanda, but inside the RPF people, but covered under Red Cross. If you don't see that deceptive side of states, then you have all this talk of the countries need to speak and all this and whatnot. Rwanda is denying its troops are in Congo, so then why are you in Doha meeting those officials? Why are you signing this treaty if you don't have any troops there and whatnot? And why do you seem more angry than the M23 themselves? So finally, in a sentence, that's why the US Foreign Intelligence Agency, the CIA, came up with its motto is, ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Of course, it's taken from the gospel, Christ's statements, the Gospel of John. It's not just a religious statement.
Try to summarize.
The actual work of intelligence is to get to know the truth of motives, national interests, quiet maneuvering, rearming, the things states do behind the scenes. It's an intelligence operation rather than academic study. Thank you.
Thank you.